What does it mean to lose everything you thought you knew about family? The sun was dipping low over the horizon, painting the beach in hues of amber and gray. I stood there, my sandals sinking into the damp sand, waiting for my son, David, his wife, Claire, and their 2 kids to return. They'd promised a family die a rare moment to reconnect after years of distance. I'd driven 6 hours to this sleepy coastal town, my old pickup rattling with every mile, just to see them. But as the hours ticked by and the beach emptied, a cold realization settled in. They weren't coming back for me. I'd raised David alone after his mother passed. Every scraped knee, every late-night fever, every triumph and heartbreak, I was there. I taught him to fish, to dream, to stand up for himself. But somewhere along the line, he'd grown distant, pulled away by Claire's sharp edges and her disdain for my simple ways. Still, I clung to hope, believing this trip would mend things. They'd invited me, hadn't they? So why was I standing here, alone, with the tide creeping closer and no sign of them? My phone buzzed. A text from David. "Sorry, Dad. Had to head back to the rental. Kids were tired. Catch you later." No apology, no concern. Just a casual dismissal. I stared at the words, my chest tightening. They'd left me here, an hour's walk from town, without a second thought. The betrayal stung deeper than the salt air. I started walking, the weight of it all pressing down. That's when I saw a hairy old woman, maybe my age, sitting on a driftwood bench, knitting. Her name was Mabel, a local who'd seen tourists come and go for decades. "You look like you've lost more than your way," she said, her eyes kind but piercing. I told her everything, the words spilling out like the tide. She listened, nodding, then said something that flipped a switch in me. "Sometimes, family isn't who you're born to. It's who you choose to fight for." Her words burned. I wasn't just some old man to be discarded. I'd built a life, a modest one, but mine. I'd sold my hardware store last year, socking away enough to live quietly. But quietly wasn't enough anymore. I wanted them to feel what I felt, to understand the cost of their disregard. Mabel mentioned the rental market here was cutthroat, with properties flipping fast. A wild idea took root. I called my old friend Tom, a real estate guy with connections in this town. "Find me the house my son's renting," I said, "and see if it's for sale." Tom didn't ask questions. He knew my tone meant business. By nightfall, he called back. The rental was on the market, cash buyer preferred. I had the money. I made the offer. The deal closed in hours. The owner, desperate for a quick sale, didn't blink at my terms. By 9 p.m., I owned the beachfront cottage where David, Claire, and the kids were staying. I drove there, my heart pounding, not with anger, but with a strange, fierce clarity. I knocked on the door. Claire answered, her face souring when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" she snapped. David appeared behind her, looking sheepish. The kids were asleep upstairs. I held up the deed, my hands steady. "This is my house now," I said. "You've got 1 hour to pack and leave." The shock on their faces was almost worth it. Claire sputtered, "You can't do this." But I could, and I did. David tried to argue, his voice cracking with guilt he hadn't shown earlier. "Dad, we didn't mean," I cut him off. "You left me on that beach. You chose." They packed in silence, the kids waking up confused. I didn't feel triumph, just a hollow resolve. As they drove away, I stood in the doorway of the empty house, the ocean's roar in the distance. Mabel's words echoed, "Family is who you fight for." I'd fought for them, in my way, but they'd made their choice long before I made mine. The next morning, I listed the house for sale. I didn't need it. I needed to reclaim something deeper, my own worth. Maybe David would call one day, ready to talk, to rebuild. Maybe not. But I wasn't waiting anymore. I'd choose my own family, my own path, starting now. Yindi.